Tonight at 11, an employee of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is off the job tonight after making social media comments regarding Kirk's assassination. Now, what those comments were is not exactly clear, but the hospital did release a statement in response. A spokesperson telling Atlanta News First, quote, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is aware of inappropriate comments made on social media by an employee yesterday. This type of rhetoric is not acceptable for children's employees and violates our social media policy. This firing just one of thousands across the country as it relates to social media comments surrounding the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Activists have created online websites to punish the people behind those messages. One site is called Expose Charlie's Murderers. Meanwhile, funeral plans have now been arranged for Kirk. The service will take place at 11 a.m. next Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. The organization Kirk founded, Turning Point USA, is based in Phoenix. Air Force Two transported his casket to Arizona on Thursday.